radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network.
All right. Good evening. Fade to Black. How you doing? Today's Wednesday, November 19th, 2026. I am your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? Let's do this, man. Yeah, the sun cracked out today. More on that in just a minute. This week on Fade to Black, Monday night, Callum Cooper was with us, Ghost Hauntings and Survival, an amazing conversation last night. Nicola Farmer was here, also from the United Kingdom. Two guests this week, live from the UK. Last night we talked about the ICU Academy. Tonight, Masati is back. We're going to talk about the near-death experience tonight, NDEs. Tomorrow night, Dr. Julia Mossbridge is back. She's got a new book out called The Disclosure Process. Neuroscientist talking about disclosure. All of that and much more tomorrow night on the show. Very excited. Okay, my next event coming up. The next event, not the only event. The next event coming up for me is the Conscious Life Expo. And it's this February 20th through the 23rd, 2026 at the LAX Hilton. The links for that event are below. I believe this is the 12th year of me hosting that event. It's the biggest conference of its kind in the world. It is massive, but it is also so much fun. So head over to consciouslifeexpo.com and look at the schedule. Look at the amount of speakers. There is something there for everyone. It's going to be great. And also get tickets to my disclosure luncheon. Yeah, that's a lot of fun too as well. So that sells out every year. So get tickets for that and come and hang out with me. All right. I just mentioned the sun cracked out today. I haven't ridden in about a week. I was in Denver. I was taping Beyond Belief. Always great when I do that. It started raining here. Got back to the rain. Couldn't ride all weekend. Couldn't do. And finally, it's raining now outside, by the way. But the sun came out today. The streets dried out. So I fired up the bike and took a short ride, put on long johns, thermals, and went out there and faced the music. It was a lot of fun. I just rode over to Antelope Valley, Harley Davidson to hang out and say hello to everybody and turn around and came back. It was too cold. It was too cold. And then Frankie over there, I'm going to get Masati on here right now, but I want to share this with everybody. This is my life. Frankie, who's the service manager over there, and he's amazing. He's just a great guy. And he's got a group, his family and his friends that he rides with, and they're all really, really cool. They're a lot of fun. But they ride. And so Frankie goes, okay, man, we're going to ride New Year's Day, January 1st. I said, okay. He goes, man, it's going to start at 7 on New Year's Day. You know how cold that is, right? And I don't know where we're going yet, but it's going to be an all-day ride. We'll probably go 300 or 400 miles in one direction and come back. We're not going to spend the night. And I'm like, okay, man. I'm talking all big. Yeah, man, I'm in. And I'm thinking to myself, that sounds frightening. Yeah. So there you go. Frankie's crazy. He told me we did the love ride together. And this is for all of you Harley riders. He goes, so man, you should have joined us when we went to Colorado. I said, oh yeah. And he goes, yeah, man, it was great because we did 800 miles in one day. We made it to our destination. Coming back, wait, 800 miles? I wouldn't do that in a car. 800 miles on a bike. Right. And I'm like, oh, man, yeah, that would have been great. He said, coming back, we took a few days and we were only doing 200 miles a day. We took it easy. I'm like, man, you guys are hardcore. But you know what? You just got to be hardcore. I was just talking to Masati before the show. Masati and I are friends. And you just never know. You think you know somebody. He goes, Masati says, I won't waste airtime tonight with me and Masati talking about motorcycles because that'll take over the whole show. He goes, man, we need to go riding. I go, we do. You ride? And he goes, I do. And he's got the correct bike, man. He's got a Triumph Bobber. And wow, who knew? I knew he was cool. I just didn't know how cool. But we're going to find out tonight because Masati is here. We're going to be talking about the near-death experience tonight. I have spent a lot of time with Masati. He has talked a little bit about his near-death experience with me. But tonight we're going to do the big reveal about death and also if we are living in a simulation and how consciousness shapes reality. We're going to do all of that. His websites are below, okay, on social media and over on our website. I would like to welcome back to Faded Black, the one and only Masati, hardcore biker Masati.
Hey, buddy, how's it going?
Did you see the movie The Bike Riders?
I did not.
Okay, that's what
I got to check it out.
That's what you and me are doing tonight after the show.
Hell yeah!
I think the movie is based on your life.
Really?
So yeah.
Now I got to watch it for sure.
How you doing, man? What's going on?
Nothing. Well, a lot of things. We just got back from. It was a fantastic year, actually. We went to Egypt, China. We came back from South Africa. Really transforming lives. We had our own events there, so it was beautiful. And I'll be at the Conscious Life Expo with you.
Yes, I know. I can't wait for that.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
Wait. When you go, let me ask you about that. Conscious Life Expo is massive, and we say that all the time. But the people that go there for the first time, unless you're prepared for it, it can be a little overwhelming because it's sprawling, it's big. There's so many speakers and things where you have to. It's not like there's one stage where we all are the no. You have choices, right? It's like when you go to a great restaurant and you like everything on the menu, and it's that kind of challenge. But when you're there at conferences like that, how is that for you to hang out with the attendees and share stories and do the meet and greet?
I actually love it. My booth is usually really, really packed. No matter where we go, it's just like there's always groups of people hanging out because of what I do, and it's just fun getting to know people, the real people behind their identities, I guess, and people love understanding who they are at a very, very deep level, and getting rid of all the distortions of their genetics, their family value structure, and whatever holds them back. So it's beautiful to see that you can wake up so many people in a very short period of time.
Do you get a chance to go and check out other speakers and presentations?
Sometimes, but like I said, my booth is so busy. But Faye, my wife, she drags me out sometimes. So I do check, here and there, but a lot of times I'm at the booth or I'm speaking.
Yeah, she's dragged us both to things. She loves to do that. She loves to, and her energy level is so high. But if you had I just want to get inside your head a little bit. If let's say you can do whatever you want when you're at these conferences, and if you had what would you go and check out? Would you check out ancient history, UFOs, Bigfoot, consciousness? Awakening. Well, you already do all the shows. So probably the awakening part or consciousness. I want to see how they define it compared to how I define consciousness. Yeah, that's a good point. I usually have a very different view than most people. So. Well, that's my favorite question. What's
There you
what's
go.
your take on consciousness? Okay, no, let me help you. Let me feed you
Okay.
a softball. Here's a
Sure.
softball underarm pitch.
Yeah.
Okay. Is consciousness local or non-local?
Well, yeah. Again, most people think that consciousness exists inside the brain. A lot of neuroscientists would think that way. But in reality, consciousness is not outside of you or inside of you. It actually is the environment that you are rendered in. So this is like if you go to Alaska, you're going to transform or shift to, say, your reality or your environment. Does that make sense to you? If you go to Jamaica or wherever else, again, your environment dictates who you're going to be, how your habits are, eating, all that stuff. So consciousness is literally a reality that, say, exists in this, and whatever that consciousness, say, dictates or has programs in there, those are all the things that you can be, do, or have. If that consciousness does not have, say, a certain paradigm, you can't think it. If that makes sense for you. So
It's making sense.
yeah.
Let's take it a step further. Excuse
Yeah.
me.
Mhm.
Let's take it a step further. When you say environment, you're speaking in metaphor, right?
No,
Or are
no,
you speaking in a
this is
literal
literal.
sense?
This is a
Oh,
literal
really?
sense. This is not your, say, environment, physical environment, that you sense with your five senses. There's a whole, say, different paradigm or different, say, system that creates you, so you can think and act and so on like that. So it's basically the rendering machine that creates this reality. That consciousness is literally the script on how this reality is dictated. So
Hmm.
I'll give you an example. When people go, oh, the Stone Age, and we move into, say, the metals age, and then we move into the industrial age, and it's not all these, say, brilliant people, coming up with ideas and inventions and all this stuff, going, wow, hey, we just thought of this, or now we're in the technological age. It's got nothing to do with that. It literally is, say, that consciousness that has concepts of, say, technology coming down, and then when it comes down and hits this reality, we all, say, swim in that reality, and then this is where we pick up, say, ideas. It's like, gosh, you know what, we should get into the technological age. If that makes sense to you. And this is where that consciousness, again, it's always like a record drop. It just, back in the old days, they had the record players with the, stacks of records. Basically, one consciousness finishes, then the record drops, and a whole new set of rules dictate how you, say, run this reality.
How do you adapt to that?
Some people don't. That's what's
Right.
happening today. People are like stuck, like 10 levels deep, and it's like shit. And this is where, people might go, oh, you're, what is it, the reptilians and all that stuff. It's not that they live underground, but that consciousness that was, say, surface level or zero level reality. So
Mhm.
so just to go deeper, you've got zero level reality, and then you got level one, where like death occurs, level two, level three, level four, level five. So in this case, level one drops into level zero, and this is the playing field. This is where, say, density occurs, and then level zero will drop into, say, a negative level consciousness. And that's, so at the time, whether it's good or bad, it doesn't really matter. It's a negative level consciousness, and this is, people go, oh, that's the lizard people, or there's dark states or whatever it is. It's just people are stuck in that realm, that consciousness that created them back then.
Let me ask you. Let me ask
Mhm,
you this,
mhm.
and I want you to take this the right way, please,
Yeah,
good
no worries.
sir, good friend of mine. Is I have been to a few of your presentations,
Mhm,
and they are so amazing and comprehensive and full of
mhm,
information. Now, I have stood there next to you, right?
mhm.
Watch your presentation and go, I get it.
Yeah,
I get it. And then I'm like, no, I don't. Right.
yeah,
But here's the part about that, because I love information.
yeah.
I'm looking at the people in attendance.
Mhm,
They are completely focused.
yeah.
And you must really enjoy that because you want people's attention and you get it. Do you think that they they are getting it? Do they fully understand and absorb what you are trying to present?
Uh, Maybe not at a conscious level, but like you said, the focus that people have, it's because the frequencies that I create while I'm speaking, and even now, some of your audience might actually feel my presence,
Mhm.
and that's the frequencies, and it's a remembrance of who they are. So what I speak about, literally, like you get it because deep down inside, you already know this stuff, Jimmy, just like everybody else, because the logic or the physics that creates you, renders you, is buried deep inside. And just to give you an example, for example, your heartbeat, it's an autonomic nervous system that runs your heart, that runs your visual cues, and the thousands of processes that happen. So we don't understand it at a logical level, how the heart works, but at a very deep level, we understand how the heart works because it works for us all the time. Does that make sense to you?
Coming from you, I will always say it makes sense, but
Yeah. So-
but these are complex issues,
oh no,
and
yeah, totally.
and things. This is the other thing, though,
Mhm.
Masati.
Yeah.
People need to resonate and develop a trust with somebody with this kind of information.
Yes.
And I have that in you, but I didn't always have it. You know when I got it with you? You know when I started trusting you? And we were always friends. I'm not saying that, right?
Of course, yeah.
But you and I want the audience to listen to me very, very carefully so you don't misunderstand anything that I'm about to say. Masati invites me to do a session with me. All right. So I go. I'm excited. I want to see what this is all about. And we're alone. And while we were going through this, which was maybe a half hour, would you say?
Yeah.
About a half hour, maybe. And so we're going through, and while I'm in this state, Masati says to me, audience, listen to me. Masati says something out loud that only I knew. It was private, and I have never talked about or spoken about to a single soul on this planet ever. And it comes out of his mouth. And I'm sitting there, my eyes pop open, and he says something, and I go, dude, I gotta go. You remember that? You remember that, right? I was
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
and
Yeah.
you said, well, you want to sit and talk? I said, man, you're freaking me out, man. I gotta go. I gotta.
I
What did
remember
I
that.
say? Yeah. What did I say, Masada? I said, I gotta go think about this.
Yeah.
Remember? I said,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
man, and I walked away, and it was just going through my. How did he know that?
Mhm.
It was very, very private and very, very personal. And I never even told you what you said.
Yeah.
I think you came up to me later. I think you know what? No, too private. But you're good.
Thanks,
you
buddy.
you are
Yeah.
good. But do you have that reaction from people? And does it
Oh,
always happen that way?
oh, totally. Yeah. People go, how do you know that? Again, it's not like psychic abilities, but what I do is literally like tap into, say, the consciousness that creates you here. So, or that part of that consciousness. So, like, I could read anybody online. I don't have to know your name. Like, what's this? Alexandria. She says, I'm numbed by my addictions. Yeah, it's something happened to your uncle, Alexandria, that distorted your father, and that's why you are literally, addictions usually run when you're disconnected from space and time. So what you do, Alexandria, is like you always have to say grab onto something, or something, whether it's alcohol, cigarettes, whatever, or a person, or a situation, or an idea, or a song, or whatever it is. It's because you're grabbing onto time, or you have a lack of, say, consistency with time, and that's an easy fix. I can work on her while we're speaking, and she'll probably feel
Yeah.
different.
No. Tonight
So,
you are mine.
well, of course,
Tell
yeah,
tell
I'll just
Faye.
work
Faye's
Alexander
right
on the
there.
side.
I will
Um,
I will text Faye right now.
yeah,
She'll go, no more, no more Jimmy.
yeah,
Before we get started, I
Mhm.
don't want to get too sideways. How's the family? Everything good? Getting
Yeah, it's
ready for
really
the
fantastic.
holidays?
Oh yeah, it's gonna be great. We're gonna have all the kids here. Probably their friends, so it's gonna be beautiful. Yeah, It's a big,
Did I
big holiday.
did I tell you? I don't know if I told you this. I get on an elevator and
Mhm.
all of your kids get in, right? All
Oh
15
yeah.
of them. Yeah. So they all get in on the elevator. And I turned to them. They're like, "Hi, Jimmy." I said, "Hey, man, what's going on?" I said, "Hey, all right, this goes through the whole elevator." Okay. Is your dad as cool as he thinks he is? Yep. They love you, man. They
Thanks, man.
absolutely.
That's
You
so
know,
nice.
I'm a parent, and to see that, and to see your family is just
Yeah.
is really cool. So you guys are ready for the holidays, and here
Yeah.
we go.
Yeah, we're just hanging out, making a fire, making turkey. It's just a good time connecting.
Isn't that next week? When
Yeah.
is
I
Thanksgiving's
think
next?
next Thursday.
Is it really?
Coming up so fast. This year like just swooshed by.
Oh, I can't even believe how fast this year went by. I
Pretty
can't.
crazy.
It's absolutely insane. Um, let's get to an NDE conversation.
Okay.
Um, I will act like I've said this to you for the first time for the
Okay.
audience, but
Sure.
um, I've had my own NDE experience
Mhm.
while in the hospital,
Yeah.
and I went through that. And when I did go through that, as I started my journey of knowledge
Mhm.
in my career,
Yeah.
interviewing other people that have had NDEs,
Yeah.
not necessarily having written a book, just people that have gone through it too as well. It's fun.
Right.
And I haven't what I did find is most experiences are different,
Yeah.
and mine was completely unique. A few similarities,
Mhm.
I see the crossover.
Yeah.
But is it like that, as you've gone through multiple NDEs like I have?
Yeah.
Do you find that is the case?
Well, there are similarities that people go through. They see the tunnel of light, or they get a life review, or they get their, pets or their loved ones are greeting them, and all that, or somebody is like believes in, say, Christianity or Jesus, and they're still, say, in that concept of self or their physical self. They'll start to see, say, Jesus. It's like, Jesus is here for me. Or if you're, a Buddhist, or I don't know, Muslim or whatever, it's like, here we go, Buddha came to me, someone like that. And
Right.
then they go, Jesus is real. Look, I is in my near death. I mean, all those things. It depends on your reference point. So if you reference, say, clarity or enlightenment with Jesus, then most likely you will see a Jesus up there, because again, it's just easier for, say, consciousness to help you understand what's happening up there. But when I had those near death experiences, I think mine was a little different because I was groomed to have those near death experiences. So I use near death experiences to accelerate my progress, just
Wait,
like
wait, 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 wait. What do you mean groomed?
groomed. So back in the day, I studied my first near death. I studied, gosh, a lot of the religions, a lot of spirituality, but they all kind of sucked. No offense. They're good. It's good content, but it's not. If you're not getting the same results as, say, a Jesus or a Buddha or Muhammad, then you're probably doing it wrong, basically. So it's like I wanted to know the truth, right? So I really wanted to know the truth, not what they wrote in books and all that. But it didn't really satisfy me, what I was reading. And then so that wasn't satisfactory. So I decided, like many people do, go, well, if I become successful, then I'll be truly whole, I'll be truly happy, and I'll understand myself. But look at today's world. I mean, there's a lot of people are well, messed up. Whether they're successful or they're dirt poor or they're spiritual, they're all messed up. So I'm going, I want to know the truth. And I wanted to know the truth so bad that the universe goes, "Hey, do you really want to know?" I go, "Yeah, I really want to do." No, and so I was in a warehouse, college job. I was unloading rail cars, and I got my jaws crushed, in the walls that go inside, and that's where I started to realize our true potential of who we are. our true environment of who we are, not the distorted version of our physical realm. This is only like, say, I would say like 2% of our possibilities. Imagine that.
Masati.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
just scared the crap out of me. What do you mean your jaws were crushed and the walls came like a?
Oh yeah. So
I've seen that in a couple wasn't that in Batman, the original series, the walls
I
coming in?
yeah,
Was it like that? Is that what you're
no, well,
suggesting?
yeah. So just imagine a rail car, and inside
Uh-huh.
they have these moving walls to keep product in place, so it doesn't. If it's not a complete, a full, say, rail car, they have these
Right.
moving walls inside that just keep the product in place. So we couldn't get to the products, so it was stuck. So I offered to climb up, on the rails, up, inside the car, and just pull. My teammates were pulling this almost a half-ton wall, and it just gave way, and I just literally slid across. And what stopped was, the ceiling members. They had a ceiling member, so, and my head was perfect. It just went boom. If it
Oh,
was my neck, I would have been out, but it crushed my jaw. So I was literally dangling by my jaw, Jimmy. I didn't know it at the
man.
time, but it's just like, and I don't know how long I was dangling there, but I literally like stepped out of my body and go, that's really pretty fucking weird. It's like, what am I doing here if I'm doing, what am I doing here if I'm supposed to be over there? Which is really an eye opener. But I was totally conscious.
Do you think we're going to stay right here at that moment when you see yourself?
Yeah.
Could it be the brain is such a powerful tool that your brain, through a survival DNA sequence, wanted to show you what was going on?
No, you can step out of your brain. Like when people have altered states through psychedelics, or when people describe the surgery room from above,
Right.
that's not your brain. You're connected. You might say access the download. So like your essence or your presence or your timeless self, or some people might call it their spirit, you literally say disconnect, and you can hover just like a dream state. In your dreams everything is real, but you don't have a physical form. So that's that, say, presence that you have, so that can float around, and this is where people can describe the room perfectly. Your brain
Sure.
can't do that.
I was robbed in my NDE. I didn't get that experience.
Yeah, you
I
just
didn't get
seem like you just went faded to black, and that was
Yeah, I did. Faded to black. Yeah, I've read so many accounts
yeah.
like that, and not only are they from just average people that don't have an interest in these subjects,
Mhm.
but then you have doctors that are
Mhm.
probably non-spiritual and don't consider consciousness and all of this, and they just
Yeah.
think that and then it happens to them.
Mhm.
And you listen to their accounts where
Right.
they know the medical procedures and what's going on, and they
Yeah.
know when they are clinically dead, and then
Yes.
they turn around and observe what's going on in the emergency room.
Yes.
That's incredible when they know that it's an absolute impossible thing to have
Absolutely.
happened if we follow the orthodox
Mhm.
medical terms for all of this.
Yeah, I mean, you just can't understand that much detail, from your brain's perspective, and from that point of view, like hovering over a surgery table. But there are many experiences like that, Jimmy, that science tries not to describe, because then it'll falsify a lot of beliefs of science, which is really sad.
We have a couple of rock stars in the chat tonight,
Mhm.
and I'm going to show you this. This is Tony and Cherie Rathman.
Mhm.
They are absolutely amazing investigators, but I don't know if this is Tony or if this is Cherie. One of
Mhm.
them is going to tell me in a minute. But he said, I don't know if it's Tony or Cherie. If consciousness can step out of the body, then how can it? How is it not in the body? And
Yeah.
that's a really, really good point. And then they went on to say, um, another point, and I love it when people pay attention to me.
Mhm.
They said I was also able to write music during my NDE, and most
Mhm.
people don't talk about stuff like that. So I had
Yeah.
something unique happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point.
Yeah, I mean, people come back with amazing experiences. People come back with, what's her name? Anita Marjani. She healed herself of cancer. It's not like, like how do you do that? It's because you change your identity or how you render yourself in space and time. This version of, say, Anita had cancer. There's another version of you in the multiverse that says you don't have cancer. So when you step out of an NDE, you literally unplug from this, say, stage set, and you shine your light on that other stage. And this is where, like many people, they cure themselves. They have amazing talents. They come back with learning another language. All those things. And just to answer that other question, consciousness is not outside of you, inside of you. It's literally the fabric. Just think of consciousness as atoms. Atoms make up everything. So go beyond and say it's a frequency that makes the atoms, that makes everything. So and again, it's the fabric of, say, the environment, and you're part of that environment.
Yeah,
So,
man,
so that's not
I'm
you.
getting it. I'm getting it.
Yeah.
Well, I want to get back to your NDE,
Mhm.
but I think that is a good, solid general point.
Mhm.
When people make the comments
Yeah.
because of what they've learned, that consciousness is everywhere. It's the universe. Everything is connected. Well, that's exactly what you're saying, right?
Yeah, but different. There's a science to it, and I can go into it if you want. So, like I said, consciousness is basically, coordinates on how this reality exists. And how this reality can exist. It's like a operating system. I'm on a Mac right now, and it has an operating system. It dictates how this computer works. It dictates, say, the programs that run on this computer. If you're not, say, adjusted to the operating system, then that program won't run. So if you're not adjusted to the operating system, or if the person, for example, it would be a program or an application, it's not, if that's not resonating with the operating system, then you're not going to work in this reality. You just basically disconnect. Does that make sense? So
Yeah, it does.
basically, consciousness is an operating system that dictates how this reality runs. It's not, it's part of you, it's outside of you, but it literally is an operating system that is beyond, say, the concepts of physicalness of this reality.
So what happened next after? I'm
Um,
assuming you got rescued from the train car.
Well, yeah. So I went into a realm where it was a life review, and this is where most people go. Well, this is where some people go. I don't know. Some saint was sitting in front of you, and you either you go this. You did this good. You did this good, but what the hell happened here? And because of that, we're going to have to send you to hell or heaven. That's all. That's really not the way it works. Although, if you want to believe in that, it'll render it for you in that reality. For me, it's more like, if you're running like life here, you're running it as a kindergartner. You're new to this reality, but when you die, I relived my whole 22 years, because that's from birth to 22 years. I relived every moment of it, Jimmy, from a highly awakened being. So it reset everything for me. There was no I should haves, or there was no I could haves or anything. You totally understood why you are in the situation that you were in. And it's a beautiful thing. And when you do that, you resolve yourself of shame, of guilt, and fear, and all these things that society puts upon you, and you just come back to your, say, luminous self. And it's at that level you feel grand love for yourself, and it's just millions of times grander than any love that you could feel here, or the euphoria that you could feel here. It would blow your circuits
Did
if
you
you
know
felt
that you
that
were
much love.
dead?
Yep, I did, because I was so free. I was literally like, damn, I felt like, more than Superman. It's like, damn, this is cool. Because this is the potential that I wanted. That's what I asked for. It's like, was my true potential. And you could morph into pretty much anything or any situation. And just like a dream state, like I said, you could just morph into, being, say, that person or being that presence. And I've helped actually a lot of people who cross over, kind of get stuck in their realms, taking them to that level where they can rewrite their life and relive their life. So I've done that for people. But yeah, it's and then that you're dead when it's like, gosh, I just want to stay here, forever. And then as soon as you say that, there's a voice that always comes, or it could be your voice that I haven't figured out yet. And it's like, yeah, you can stay here or you can go back. And you think it's a choice, but as soon as they say go back and you think about going back, what you think about literally renders itself just like that. So when you think of going back, it's like, boom, you're there already. And I was in my body with severe pain.
I had something similar,
Mhm.
but let's go to the after effects. So when I came out of my coma,
Mhm.
and my eyes popped open, and as soon as I did that, the whole room, there was a priest next to me reading a Bible.
Yeah.
That freaked me out. I didn't know where I was, but I'm
Mhm.
watching him. He's alive. He's alive. I was like,
That's
what are you
beautiful.
doing, dude? What's going on? And so he's hitting buttons, and then the room fills up and full of doctors. And so when all of this is going on around me, I
Mhm.
did that. I was
Yeah.
like, man, I want to go back.
Exactly.
That was a really cool place, but I didn't know. I just thought I was dreaming, or I can't explain it, but
No.
I just really dug the bliss of it. It was such a
Yes.
happy place,
Exactly.
and now I love this reality. I love you. I love my friends. I love my
Yeah.
family. I love my daughter. I love my existence. I love my Harley, right? All those things. And I want to be here
Mhm.
as long as I'm supposed to be here.
Yeah.
But that being said, I at that moment, Masati, I wanted to go back. I tried to Dorothy that shit. I
Well,
did. I think I clicked my heels, man, in the hospital bed.
I've done that
I'm not
several times.
yeah, I'm not joking,
Well,
man.
yeah, after near death, after that first near death, you come into this reality. And it's like, damn, things just don't make sense. Society, or the way people slave away for their their prosperity and how they love. Is like, shit, that's all messed up.
Mhm.
And you do want to go back, but the key is not choosing, going there or over here, because it took you, I don't know, 14 billion years, Jimmy, to render a reality or render a body that could literally have, say, a concept of going, damn, I'm here and there's a grander version of me. That's like amazing intelligence there. So, but the key is like, how do you bring that or how do you access the possibilities of who you are and then render it here physically? Because at that level, like I said, you can be or do anything that you want to, just like that. But and this is where Einstein says, where everything can happen all at once, and it can up there. You can be this, you can do that, you can do that, you can be all sorts of possibilities, but because there's no time. But as you come down to an event horizon or space time, you can only do one linear thing at a time, and that's the beauty of time. So just think of it this way, Jimmy. You're talking about not a cafeteria, a gorgeous restaurant that has, say, 1,000 different foods, and you're just shoving all the foods in your face. You wouldn't taste it. You're just like shoving it. So that's what the other side is like. Everything happens to you all at once, but you can distance yourself and then have one beautiful plate at a time. And that's what life affords you. So it's, once you understand that concept, you go, damn, this is really cool. And you can really enjoy, say, what you're eating rather than just, everything all at once. Kind of like
Check
that
out this.
movie.
Yeah. Check out this comment.
Yeah.
It says, Luminal Mind. be reminded it was Toto that pulled back the curtain. It was Toto that crossed the veil. Be Toto, not Dorothy.
There you go. I love it.
I love that a lot, actually. That's
Yeah,
strong.
that's
Luminol, I just
super.
stole that. I stole that. I'm going to say that on another show in
Mhm.
6 months.
Okay.
Hopefully nobody will remember, and I'll just look really, really smart
Mhm.
and witty
Yeah.
and on top of it and quick and all of that. Nah, I stole it. All of my best material is borrowed. It's all borrowed. This is your first near-death experience. You've had
Yeah.
many.
Yeah.
But this being your first, where you wanted enlightenment with the process, you wanted to see what was going on.
Yeah.
Do you feel, I want to get to the end of it too as well. So, but let's do this question first. Do you feel you got those questions answered in session 1?
I did. Yeah. I look at my, near-death experiences, Jimmy, as an apprentice. The first near-death gave you apprenticeship possibilities. It's like, shit, how? So after my near-death experience, I started to go, how do okay, I know it's up there. I don't want to go up there because then I lose my life. But how do I bring this knowledge down here and apply it? So it was, the first one was like an apprenticeship. It's like knowing the possibilities. The second one allowed me to understand the mechanics or the science behind that consciousness, bringing it here into physical form and applying it. And it's not much different than, say, a Nikola Tesla or an Albert Einstein, where they escape this reality, physical form, they go to another level of consciousness, like, say, Nikola would, and then they go up to his workshop in that consciousness, and then they go, oh, okay, I figured it out, and then they try to apply it in this realm. So basically, that that consciousness or that intelligence exists at a higher level. So, and that's what I did. The second near death allowed me to, say, understand the mechanics or the science, how this reality works, or how to bring the possibilities of who we are into this realm and actually apply it.
That's remarkable. And to look at it that way, if I came away with anything, and it was profound, what I came away with was, man, I almost died.
Okay.
But I didn't. No.
Yeah.
I died, but I came back, I should say. I realized at that moment that I was not going to screw up this second chance. Because I was so young. I was 20, like you. You were 22.
Yeah.
I wasn't even old enough to drink when this went down. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like, man, I wanted to go into a bar with the real ID. I want, there's things I wanted to do. I'm not going to screw this up. And that was a difficult lesson and a harsh way to learn that lesson. But
absolutely.
Wow. That's what I came away with.
Yeah, and Jimmy, once you understand, say, death, what's that saying? The angel of death is actually your savior, because once you honor, say, death, or once you understand it, life becomes more precious for you, and you utilize the time that you have here much better.
How long were you dead?
The first time around, not exactly sure. But when I came back into my body, I had the shearing pain, and then I blacked out. And then the next moment I knew, I was, awake in the hospital. I don't know how many hours later, with my jaws wired shut. So quite a long time, actually. I don't know how long I was disconnected from my body, but I was out, so to speak, for hours.
You know what I did? You know what I didn't feel?
Yeah.
Pain.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
No pain. I was in such I was in head to toe body pain. I've talked to you about this, and but I'm in this head to toe body. I didn't feel any pain. Maybe I was on a bunch of morphine. I don't know, but
no, you don't have the receptors. The receptors for pain are in your physical body, not like in your presence.
Yeah. Because when I came out of that coma, Okay. It took about 3 minutes. All right. When I came out of the coma, I'm normal dude. I'm on IVs and I'm all strapped in. I'm in a hospital bed, but everything was normal.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh shit. I hurt, it was crazy how that came flooding back. But when I was in the coma, I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel
Yeah.
a single thing.
Yeah.
Now, okay. So as you started to gather your thoughts,
Mhm.
after you realized your jaw was wired shut, what do you think about?
Um, it sounds kind of crazy because I literally had to puree my food, hamburger or whatever, because I couldn't chew. And they just left me a little slit. So for like about 3 months, it was like eating obviously sucked. I couldn't speak too well, but God, I felt so good. Everything tasted so much better, and I really, was grateful for just being in physical time and space. I just enjoyed just like being it. Sometimes I would just like zone out and go, wow, this is really cool. And I think maybe that's where my abilities started to come in, because I started to see resonance. Like I'd look at a tree and I'd go, oh, whoa, that's how it's being. It's like being on a psychedelic trip, dude.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, oh, whoa, that's so cool. But I wasn't on anything. So I started to see, say, the resonance or the vibration of the reality around me, and the heaviness or that darkness of things not making sense in this reality, all that that kind of faded away because this was more important. It's like shit. So I you'd zone out a lot and it's go, wow, that's gorgeous. So
How
I
many
had a great time.
NDEs? I had a great time. How many NDEs have you had?
3 major ones. And so it's the 3 basically complete disconnects where you leave your body behind and then you travel. And then, mini ones like mini near death, which would be a half disconnect, which most people go through, where they kind of say disconnect from their body, unplug, but then, they come back in. This is like plant medicine journeys, someone like that, where they're still, say, anchored or tethered to their physical form. So they kind of disconnect. They can kind of see, say, that threshold into the other realms, but they don't go into it. Although we help people go into it at a deeper level and
With
still
your
stay.
with your next NDE, the next major one,
Mhm.
I don't know if there's a minor one. I don't know if you can say that. I don't know.
Well, I've almost drowned, literally, like, but you didn't, that kind of deal, or you
I
drowned for like a half a minute or something, and just like somebody finds you or whatever, that kind of like half disconnect.
can I tell you my drowning story? Can I
Yeah,
tell you the story?
love it.
I'm with some friends. We're at a beach in Panama, up the coast on the Pacific side, place called Tits Beach. It's amazing, where this river
Sounds great.
runs into the ocean, right? So you
Mhm.
have these crazy waves that are
Yeah.
created. It's just amazing. So anyway, but the river
Mhm.
cuts through these rocks out of the mountains and then dumps out into the ocean.
Yeah.
So we could do 2 things all day. We can go river rafting and we can go surfing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and body surfing and all that. Meanwhile, drinking lots of beer and smoking lots of pot.
Yeah.
So I go up to the top of the river. I've got a air mattress, and I jump, and it's rapid. It's like
Mhm.
whitewater stuff, and I jump into it, and I'm going down, and I get upside down. I get sucked in, and I am now looking up at the surface of the water.
Yeah.
And I'm young. I'm like 15. I can swim my butt off,
Yeah.
and I couldn't get up to the water or to the surface.
Yeah.
And I didn't really panic,
Mhm.
right? I panicked later. I'll tell you why. All right. So then I black out.
Yep.
I pop up, right? I pop up out in the ocean, way out there. And I come up and I'm looking around, I'm like, holy crap. I'm a quarter mile away from shore. The
Mhm.
river where I got tipped up, that's up the mountain. I
Yeah.
came all the way down out in the tide, and I'm out, and so I swim to shore, and I look around. I'm old enough to know that this is crazy. How far out I was, where I started, and how
Yeah.
long I was under the water. I had no concept of that. And it freaked me out. It freaked me out. I couldn't even talk for the rest of the day. People were coming up to me and asking me.
Yeah.
I was just like so stunned at the whole thing.
Yeah.
To me, Masati,
Yeah.
2 seconds. That's how long it was like that. I looked up. I was like, man, I can't get to the surface of the water. I black
Mhm.
out, and then I popped up in the ocean.
Yep.
It was like I time traveled. It was like 2
Exactly.
seconds.
It's just, that's it's happened to me so many times, those mini near deaths where you black out or do something and you escape time. And then it's like, oh, I was only underwater for a second. And then people tell you, it's like, shit, you're gone.
Right.
Like,
Right.
like
No,
what?
my friends were
What are you
doing
talking
that
about?
to me.
Yeah.
Dude, you disappeared for 25 minutes.
Yeah.
Whatever. I was like, oh man, I
Yeah.
am really freaking out right now. I am really freaking out. I was not comfortable with it. I knew that it felt to me like it was 1 second. I knew the distance that I traveled and
Mhm.
how it went down, and none of that computed. I was
Exactly.
too young to understand. But
Well, it baffles a lot of scientists even today, buddy, because that's literally time travel. And that's the work that I do now. It's like in some realm you probably died, but in another, say, concept of self, you made it. So it's like, which one did you choose? Obviously, you
right.
chose that one that you came out of it. So.
With your next NDE,
Mhm.
with your previous knowledge, how many years between the two NDEs? How much time?
Yeah, essentially about 22, 23 years.
23 years. Okay, so
Yeah,
now
so I was mid 40s.
you've got experience now.
Yep.
With your next one, were you prepared? And what happened? Actually, tell us what happened.
Yeah, so we were on a cruise ship, and we're going out, where you have these activities, right? We're on a cruise ship. We went to Belize, and it's like, hey, let's go inner tubing out in the jungle, and it's like that sounded great, and we did, but it was kind of an ominous kind of day. Everything was just a little off. I don't know if you've ever had that experience where it's just a little off. And we get to the jungle, and they're handing out life jackets, but everything worked out perfectly where I didn't have a life jacket. And it's like, okay, I'm a strong swimmer. I was a swimmer in high school. I can handle the rapids. Plus, I've got an inner tube. So what can go wrong?
Does it sound familiar to what I just
Exactly. It's
shared
like
with you? It's the same thing. Yeah.
same exact thing, right? You kind of know, or the universe knows, but for some reason, we don't pay attention to it. But what I did pay attention was I was double checking, triple checking my kids' life jackets, because they were a little smaller. So, you put the band, between their legs so it doesn't pop off and stuff. For some reason, I was just triple checking them, and I'm going, what, am I going insane or what? And then I started to notice, which was really crazy, because you hear the jungle sounds. It was a bit windy, but when it came time, everything was like dead silent. There was no wind, there was no jungle noise. Everything was just like brilliantly calm, and I'm going, that's really interesting. And that's where we stepped into the in our inner tubes, and this is where the guide goes out. Be careful, because you want to keep your feet interlocked, so we'll go as a group. Because if you don't, you might go into other tributaries where they have waterfalls or underground waterfalls and so on, basically holes in the river that you just get sucked into, what they call cenotes in Mexico. And somehow I unlocked my feet. The family went that way. My two sons and I went the other way, and just within like less than a minute, the rapid was so powerful. I got sucked in. I pushed my kids aside so they wouldn't get sucked in, and I got sucked into the cenotes. And I remembered stepping out of first I tried to crawl out, and so my fingers, I didn't know it at the time, but literally my fingers were peeled off and my back was bloody because I was just trying to hold on because I didn't want to go deeper, into the earth. But then you give up. It's like you got so much water pressure, you can't fight it. It's like how, and I go, gosh, I didn't think I'd be dying this early. I thought I'd be, doing more.
Older. Yeah, older.
Yeah, it's like, damn. And then you let go, and it's like, and then you black out. And then as soon as I blacked out, I saw my body go deeper, and then I just kind of looked at it. And then I rose through the rocks, the lava, and I could feel the coolness of the water, which was really cool. It's like, whoa, that's kind of cool. And then, you just transcend into a realm. And this is where, I went beyond, say, the 13 layers, of the tunnel of light. And this is where I had a peek beyond the veil. And this is where I started to see the mechanics on how this reality works. You could access any level of intelligence, whatever knowledge that was there, in the past, the present, or the future, because there is no time. Everything, again, is always there. So I call it the universal database. So all the possibilities that can happen are there for you, and they just, again, filter down. So it's not. It was quite amazing the amount of, again, love, the possibilities that you could be. You're outside of time and space. I remember that, kind of like sitting. Like that kid in those movies where the kid is just like fishing from the moon. What's that picture?
Oh, yeah. No, that's Moonlight Pictures.
Yeah, something like that. And
that's their logo. You're talking about their logo.
Yeah,
Searchlight.
exactly.
Searchlight Pictures.
Yeah, but it's just that kid fishing. So and I'm like at the edge of time, literally looking down, and I'm going, whoa, that's pretty cool. And it was just so peaceful. I'm going, damn. And, you're out of space and time. So you have no identity. That's how far I went in the second near death, where even when you die, most people have identities or memories like residue. But at that level, you're just pure spirit. There's no form. There's no, say, human identity, because there's no form. There's nothing. And it's just like, all possibilities that you could be, and it's a beautiful space. So it's not knowledge outside of you, it's knowledge that's within you, because you are one and all. And I don't know how long I was there. My wife at the time said I was gone for about 8 to 10 minutes, about that time. And the interesting part is that at that realm, just like, it's like, I only thought I was gone for a second or two, but then, it was like 8 to 10 minutes later. On the other side, when there's no time, it was like lifetimes there. I spent like lifetimes on the other side, and it was just like so peaceful. It was quite amazing. But
check the screen. There's the logo.
Yeah, DreamWorks Animation. Yep, exactly. That's me. I didn't have the fishing pole, and I'm just looking. It's like, wow, that's really beautiful. It's just like, when you're sitting on the edge of a stream and you just get dazed, on the beauty of it. It's like, yeah, it's just beautiful. It was so blissful. But the cool thing is like, I don't know how long I was gone, but I found myself, like, somebody turned me off because it just went black. It turned me off, and then set me, like, picked me up from the bowels of the earth, Jimmy, and just put me about 100 yards above river. And I'm going, how the heaven did that happen? Because I could see the inner tube getting sucked in, still getting caught because it was too big to go into the hole. And I'm going, how did I get back here? Because I should have gone down river, but I was actually above river. I'm going, so somebody loves me up there. So,
and how was it compared to? Did you immediately think about the Jaws? 20 years before.
No, it just, I thought of it when I let go, and I go, shit, this is it. and I remembered the time of separating from my body. So that was the only time, but I was just in a beautiful bliss state. Again, like living, literally going to see your maker, so to speak, and then coming back and like experiencing it. It's like it was like the most blissful state I've been. Although it was quite harrowing. It's like, damn, because you've got kids and all that. It's like, shit, I could have lost you. So the human like emotions start coming in, but then also there's this beauty that's there as well, and that beauty starts to say emanate inside you. So I brought that peace in within me.
Masati, stay right there. Let's take our break. Let's get that in. This is Fade to Black tonight. Masati is with us. He's back. He's also going to be at the Conscious Life Expo with me in February. The links for that are below. Come and hang out with us. And we'll be right back. Masati, stay right there. We'll be right back after this short break. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Stay with us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to get your alerts and access to over 2,000 videos. Click that subscribe button right now. Go to jimmychurchradio.com and get the Fade to Black official podcast. 2,000 episodes, all of them commercial free for just $2 a month. I am hosting, speaking, and presenting once again for the Conscious Life Expo, the largest conference of its type in the world. February 20th through the 23rd, 2026 at the LAX Hilton. Speakers, event, and schedule easy. Just visit consciouslifeexpo.com. I will be hosting and speaking at the Sedona Ascension Retreat, March 20th through the 22nd, 2026 in Sedona, Arizona. An amazing list of speakers, and it's beautiful Sedona. Come and hang out with us and just go to SedonaAscensionRetreats.com. I'm heading back to the Midwest for the Contact Modalities Expo, May 1st through the 3rd, 2026, in Delavan, Wisconsin, at the Lake Resort. It is beautiful. This is a great conference right in the heart of the Midwest, where I'm from. I'll see you there. Just go to Contact Modalities Expo, that's XPO.com. I will be hosting and presenting once again at Contact in the Desert. That's May 28th through June 1st, 2026, the largest UFO conference in the world. Come and hang out with us June 23rd through July 1st. Tickets and everything else that you need is at contactinthedesert.com. Want to change your life? Want that paradigm shift? Then visit Peru with Brian Forrester and myself for the Inca Celebration of the Sun, June 23rd through July 1st, 2026. A full 10 days of visiting the country, all of the amazing sights, and of course, the celebration of the winter solstice. It's all simple to do. Go to hiddenincatours.com. Come join us for the Monty Python Scotland Tour, August 1st through the 9th, 2026. This is a once-in-a-lifetime event where you get to go to the castles from Monty Python and the Holy Grail. August 1st through the 9th, 2026. Just visit HaleyARamsey.com. Watch Into the Vortex on Gaia TV. It's Fade to Black for the screen. Simple to do. Go to Gaia.com, search Jimmy Church, or click on the link below. Follow Fade to Black on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Get all of the show updates every single day. It's now called X, but who cares? Go to jimmychurchradio.com and become a Fadernaut. Get a membership. That's right. Everything is commercial free. You have access to downloads, and you get to call yourself a Fadernaut. Jimmy Church Guy TV, Fade to Black, here at Machu Picchu with Brian Forster and Hidden Inca Tours. Amazing tour so far, Brian, but we're here to announce what we're going to do next year in 2026. What's going on?
Okay, November 2026, we're going to have our major tour of Peru and Bolivia, either a pre or post tour of Paracas and Nazca on the coast. And then after that, 6 days in Easter Island.
Bucket list, Easter Island. Come join Brian and I and his amazing team here at Hidden Inca Tours for Peru, Bolivia, and Easter Island. Signing out. Say goodbye, Brian.
Bye, gang.
River Moon Coffee, makers of the Fade to Black blend. Truly the best coffee on planet Earth. Just visit rivermoonwellness.com or their Amazon store. It's all simple to do. You can check out the Fade to Black blend, the Game Changer blend, or any of their Black Moon Wellness products. It's the only coffee I drink. It is the best, and it's Doc. Again, rivermoonwellness.com. Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Masati is with us. He's back. Somebody that I have such an immense amount of respect for. But one of the things that Masati and I have done with you, I listen and he listens to me, and we have all of these like very similar shared experiences as we go on this journey. And it causes me to just absolutely relate. And I just find that part of it just fascinating. It's just, and when I go through that with friends, Masati, where you have an experience, no matter what it is, it could be anything, going to the zoo and seeing, but you have the same reactions and you share these experiences.
Yeah.
Is it for me? It's comforting knowing that I'm, what's the word? Normal. You know what I mean? Like it's okay, and sometimes
it's okay to be abnormal.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's it.
Who wants to be normal?
Yeah, nobody.
Exactly.
I want to shift gears just a little bit. I want to stay on the NDE experience, but I want to tie it into other life that is out there in the universe, and the reason for that is I have to assume. This is me speaking.
Yeah.
That ET, if they are advanced, then they have matured and grown up on their journey, just like we are. And they've experienced the things that I'm talking about, right? Where they've gone through the things that we have. Does that mean they would eventually get to the point of understanding the afterlife and the potential of consciousness?
Well, let me just pose it another way. If you think of layers, like, time is timeless is way up here, like no time, and then it gets denser and denser and denser with time. So to get denser and denser with time, you basically would have to forget who you are. So and the reason for that is because you would forget the magic trick of time and space. Does that make sense? Once you understand time and space, the magic trick won't work on you anymore. So that's what we've done. So we were at one time, say, at the consciousness level of, say, aliens, so to speak. But our species or our consciousnness goes, oh, I can create myself in more density. And so we graduated deeper and deeper. So our species, our knowledge is literally the most advanced on this planet because, well, if you can imagine, like if we went to Mars, for example, right, we'd have to be a pretty advanced civilization to colonize Mars, right? So the same thing here. We'd have to be an advanced species to say colonize time and space that we have the way we have it. I mean, look at what we've done. It's pretty amazing.
But
So,
we've also, okay, all right, this is where I'm going to turn it around on you.
yeah.
But we've certainly managed to get dumber. You know what I mean? Where we
Sure.
let me phrase that a little bit differently.
Mhm.
It seems that we were really on the path of understanding the inner self and consciousness and the
Sure.
mind and everything, and then we just let it all go, and
Well-
now we're struggling to get back to what the ancients knew.
Right. Well, the ancients knew it, but they couldn't materialize it in physical form. That's the only problem. Hence our culture or civilization today. So are we actually dumber? Or like I said, if you go to say if we started to colonize Mars, we'd be pretty limited into our possibilities compared to what we are here on Earth. So that's not really dumb, but that's just, and then we start to make,
Sure, maybe dumb is too strong of a
yeah.
word, but
Uh,
now today, Masati,
mhm,
I'm being very serious.
yeah.
Now we have people like yourself
Mhm,
that are helping us understand what
of course.
consciousness is and who we are.
Yeah.
But there's probably 7 billion people on this planet that don't give a shit either and
True.
don't consider it.
That's true.
And you are here to help facilitate
Yeah.
this understanding. And that's what I mean by dumb. It's like we forgot what we had.
Yeah, and you forgot what you had to create or render time and space. Because if you, like I said, if you understood the magic trick wouldn't work on you. Does that make sense to
Yeah,
you?
oh, yeah,
You
it
could be
does.
all possibilities. So again, pretty advanced. So the key is, like I was saying though, is that okay, you're here now. You know that there's more possibilities out there for you. How do you live at that level of consciousness and still stay in physical form? Now that's the idea, or that's the concept that we're all here for. What our purpose is to understand time and space so strongly that we don't that we say that we didn't forget our original source of who we are. So again, we did get dumbed down. You're absolutely correct. To again create this reality for us.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I work really hard
yeah.
at researching these subjects and
Mhm.
interviewing and trying to understand. It's
Yeah.
not like I was gifted this knowledge at birth,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and had parents and teachers and people around me speaking of the other parts of life. No, we
Right.
don't have that growing up. We
No.
just don't.
Well, we're starting to see, that, we're starting to remember literally say where we came from. And this is, somebody saying, oh, we're from this planet and that planet. Well, yeah, of course, there was different veins, aliens or outside of this realm. And again, we offered, or we got intelligent enough to create space and time so we can render it here. But to do that, like I said, we forgot who we are. So our journey now is basically to remember who we are and then bring it here. The ancient wisdom, or the ancient mystics, yeah, they saw what was out there, but they didn't know how to bring it back here. And this is where they tried, ayahuasca and like all those other plant medicines, but they still escaped their reality here, and they escaped it, and they went there. And that's what we're doing now with like plant medicines and all that. It's like, I mean, that's easy. I can take people without ayahuasca trips or anything into those realms, but then how do you stay in those realms and still stay conscious of this physical space?
Yeah, impossible. I would say
I do that all the time.
yeah, well, you do because you're friggin' Masati, man.
Well,
But
I help
here's it.
people do that.
True.
And this is Jimmy, this is where their lives change. This is where things are more congruent for them. This is where they don't have to get sick, and
Right.
this is where they can make money without destroying themselves or the planet.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm totally hip to that. But I got to tell you,
Mhm.
I've done DMT twice.
Mhm.
Okay, I haven't done a full ceremony. That scares the crap out of me. I don't know if I could do that for 2 or 3 days and go
Yeah.
through that. I would like to. It's a
Mhm.
time management thing. I
Sure.
can't do it. But the DMT experience to
Mhm.
me was so profound. It was
Yeah.
insanely life-changing.
Mhm.
I cannot stress that enough. And but my experience wasn't on a journey of self-awareness or self-enlightenment, or I had daddy issues I needed to work out or whatever. I didn't have any of that.
Of course.
I went into it with like what you did with your first NDE, which
Mhm.
was just show me what I need to tell the world about
Yeah, exactly.
what it would, and but absolutely 100% without question stepped off of this planet, this reality, this dimension, and into another
Exactly.
reality, just
Mhm.
as real, just as physical, just as everything that this is here.
Yeah.
And that was amazing to me.
Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. I mean, so I can't imagine being in both realities at the same time. I don't know how
Well,
that's
well, that's
possible.
just it. You're not in both realities. Your physical body stays here, but your spirit or your timeless self, say, renders itself at a higher level of
Hmm.
understanding, and then
Hmm.
it reflects a pure version of who you could be here. So we guide people in like DMT or ayahuasca journeys. So because when you go into those realms, your brain gets numbed down, and you're in the sea of consciousness without a rudder or a motor. You're just kind of floating, depending on, say, what you believe in. And so if you're believing in distortion, then you get this in a realm of distortion. So what we do is we guide people. I think you'd have a great time, Jimmy. It's like we guide people. We put you on autopilot. So when you do have a DMT experience or ayahuasca experience, you go up there and you start to remember who you truly are without all the distortions. And the cool thing about that is that you can bring those memories more coherently in this reality for you. And that's
Is
where
that how,
like real life changes.
Faye got so cool?
Well, she was always cool.
She was always like that, wasn't she?
Yeah.
I hope she's laughing right now. Man, she's cool. She's
Yeah.
cool. But here's the other thing for me.
Mhm.
I want to ask you about this. I
Yeah.
went into my first DMT experience a little
Mhm.
nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read everything, and and to experience another reality, it was it was a little scary, a little
Oh, totally.
intimidating to me. It turned out to be so cool, fun, amazing,
Yeah.
warm. It was from the very instant, from the very beginning.
Mhm.
As nervous as I was, that all went away in an instant,
Yeah.
and I couldn't believe how fun it was. Is fun the right word? Yeah, no, it
Yeah,
was
why
fun.
not?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
expansive.
It
Absolutely.
was amazing. And I went back and I did it a second time shortly
Mhm.
after that.
Yeah.
An extended session, by the way, compared to
Yeah.
my first one. And that was equally as amazing. And
Mhm.
this is my question to you.
Yeah.
You mentioned Egypt earlier.
Yeah.
When uh, the first time I got back from Egypt, not the first time, that's wrong. This one trip I got back from Egypt, the last thing I did in Egypt before
Mhm.
getting on the plane was I went into the king's chamber by myself. I had
Okay.
the Great Pyramid to myself, all alone. All right. So then I come out of that. I go to the airport. I fly back to LA. You know that flight, right? 24
Yeah.
hours. And I get back to LA. I go upstairs. I drop my luggage and I go, I went today. I was in the king's chamber. Right? Yelling. You can't yell on the plane.
Of
You
course.
can't yell at Giza, but you can yell in your house.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. After the DMT experience,
Yeah.
first time, I came home. I couldn't
Mhm.
believe I drove home, right? So I drive home. I go upstairs into my bedroom and I go, I went to another world. That was how I interpreted it.
Of course.
Just, you know what I mean? And it is like that, isn't it? You are in another place, period. Full
Yeah.
stop.
Yeah. I mean, I've done DMT a couple times, and each time is quite amazing. My abilities really accelerated because, again, you escape this realm, you escape your identity of who you are, you access the possibilities, and you bring it down into this reality. It's a
My
beautiful
next,
state.
sure. The next time I do it, I'm going to approach it a little bit differently.
Mhm.
Instead of being so mechanical with it,
Yeah.
teacher, show me what I need to know.
Well,
What I
let me
did
know.
ask my guide? You know what I asked my guide?
Yeah.
And she's behind me talking to me. I never looked at her, but she's behind me and she was real cool.
Yeah.
Both same person, by the way, same guide both times.
Mhm.
I thought that was pretty interesting. Anyway, I ask her, we're walking, and I go, oh, we're on a boat, we're on a ship. And I'm talking to her, she's behind me, and I go, so what about the robot aliens? Right? You know what she says to me?
Yeah.
Not right now. I was like, oh man. I was a little bummed out. We moved down from it pretty quickly, but it was pretty interesting, her response.
Oh, that's so
That's
cool.
not what we're doing right now. You wanted a tour, we're giving you a tour.
Yeah.
You're not really, I think what she was saying
Yeah.
was
It's
you're
like
not
pay
ready for
attention.
that yet. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're not
Exactly.
ready for that yet.
Yeah.
But it's like that, isn't it?
Mhm.
Where you can you go to Egypt and then you come back here and you come home and you realize that you were just in another land,
Yeah.
another world. And that's
Yeah.
what DMT showed me.
Absolutely. Yeah. And when we did go to Egypt, we went into the King's Chamber, our group did, and I actually brought in the frequencies of back then, and it was amazing knowledge that got downloaded on that, and obviously very different than what the guides tell you. What all that stuff is, very, very different. So.
Yeah, when I was in the King's Chamber, this is what I did. I was alone.
Mhm.
I'm not going to get into details about the personal stuff, but I did do
Yeah.
one thing. I get out of the box. I was laying in the
Oh
box.
yeah.
Yeah. So I get out. I'm alone, right? So,
Yeah.
um, so I get out of the box and I go to the far wall, away from the entrance. Right, the entrance is
Yeah.
behind me, right
Yeah.
here. So I'm at the far wall,
Mhm.
and I went up and I started to ground against it. Like assume the position. Right, put my hands
Yeah.
up, spread my legs out, and I just stood there. And this is what happened, man. I know it sounds crazy, not to you, but I felt the power. I felt it come down my hands. I
Yeah.
felt it go through my body, out of
Mhm.
my feet, up my feet, back out through. I felt the frigging electromagnetic, whatever thing that is going on in there. I did that for about 30 seconds. I had to take my hands off. Like I was getting
So,
sucked in. It was pretty incredible.
so that happened to me when that little whatever it is, casket or whatever, you lay in there.
Hmm.
So I laid in there, started meditating, I started humming, and my voice was the same, say, pitch as the granite, say, casket. And Jimmy, I got so scared because it's like, shit, I'm going to disappear. I thought I was just going to go out there. I go, well, God, if I disappear, am I going to come back? So I stopped humming right there, but it was quite amazing. My body was just like melting, and I was just fading into that reality, and you do feel the power, or maybe an antenna of
That's
a
exactly it.
different consciousness. Yeah,
Yeah. That's
it was
exactly it.
amazing.
It was amazing to me too. Like I said, I took my hands off the wall.
Yeah,
I
pretty
could
cool.
tell that I was seconds away from something that was way out of my control,
Yes.
and out of my pay grade. Right. Whew, man alive. I kind of want to stay here though,
Mhm.
if we can. Oh. I don't allow the chat room to dictate the show. Okay.
Yeah.
but this was just sent to me from one of my producers. So let me pop this up.
Okay.
Ask Masati about the crystal skull.
Ah.
Do you know what he's talking about? And this
Yeah.
is from Mel, by the way.
Yeah. So there's a Mitchell Hedges skull. If you're familiar with that,
I
they
did
say
a
that.
session. I did a session
Okay.
with Mitchell Hedges.
So there's, I believe there's 13 of them. The 13th one hasn't been found. I think the guy's name is Bill. He's got the Mitchell Hedges skull. The first time I, went there and, did a session with the Mitchell Hedges skull, you put your hands on there, and I got so much download on how everything worked or whatever that civilization was about. And I was telling Bill I saw this and this and this and this and this, and it was quite amazing how accurate it was. It's like, yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is. So the skulls are literally, it's almost like a chip device, where it's just like ancient knowledge was buried. It's pretty amazing.
I have I don't know. I have maybe 20 or 30 skulls. I don't know.
Okay.
A bunch. I love them.
Yeah.
Every one of them. And I know, man, I ride a Harley, and I know how crazy this sounds coming out of my mouth. But it's true.
Oh, thanks, man.
I pick them up, and every one of them is different.
Yeah. I have this one.
Wow.
This is obviously it's really really cool, the story behind it. You can go to YouTube and get the story, but this was really really dark. And Nassim Harriman, I don't know if you know that guy. He handed it off to, say, this woman that gets into crystal skulls. Is like, here, take it, because at the time this was creating havoc for him, and he didn't know he was getting into altered realities, all that. I mean, his lab was going crazy with this. So he was going crazy. He got rid of it, so to speak, and he gave it to this woman. And then that woman, in her neighborhood, animals started dying. They got into altered states. Their daughter was all messed up. So she called me, because she was one of our clients. She called me. It's like, I don't know what's going on. I picked this thing up. So, and it was the coolest thing. So I was there in LA, and it's like, well, we'll stop by, and here it is. So I cleaned this up, and it was really cool, the information that I got from it. And I'll just briefly say that it was creating havoc for the reality that it had. And I'm going, why are you doing that? And it's like, well, that's what humans want. They want havoc, because that's what humans, and that's basically what AI does now. It's like, it'll create havoc because it just learns from our past, right? So this consciousness literally was creating havoc. It's like, well, that's the gift that we're giving to humans. I go, well, no, humans just don't know what they want. They want to actually be healed. And you can tell the difference. Again, if you go to the YouTube video, it's not the best quality, because there's just raw video, but you can see the presence of how dark it was. And now it's like, after that moment, it's like, oh, humans actually want to clean up their distortions and reawaken. It's like, yeah. So now when people touch this, it's like, gosh, I feel really really clean with it. It was it was an amazing experience.
I had two skulls. Oh, I still have them, but I had two skulls that were complete troublemakers. And again,
Exactly.
I know this sounds crazy.
Yeah, I know.
But it doesn't change the reality of what I went through. And I had one that I still have it, that would I loved looking at it. So I put it in my bedroom next to my TV, which is at the foot of my bed. It was the roughest 2 weeks of dreams, like, in my life.
Yes.
And I said, you got to go. You're out of the, so I put him downstairs.
Yeah.
Dreams cleaned up.
Yep.
And it was just one of those things where I realized, and then I've got this other one, Brazilian quartz, just an incredible, that was gifted to me.
Yeah.
That dude was moving stuff, causing trouble, and I know what this sounds like. So what I ended up doing is I keep them all together
Mhm.
at the same spot. That's what I do. That's my. I don't put anything next to my bed. I don't put anything under my pillow.
Well,
You know what I
Jimmy,
mean? I keep them isolated.
yeah, if you learn how to communicate, through that frequency that they're at, they could actually guide you. They can actually open up intelligence for you. By the way, they're highly intelligent. I mean, these are, like I said, memory chips. So you can tap into that, say, that culture or experience for you.
I know. I know. I
Yeah,
know.
it'll clean up your
I
house.
I just have my own way. It's weird. I have my own way of dealing with it. Look, I love crystals. I have my crystals right in front of me.
I
They
love it.
sit here in front of
Yeah.
I have crystals throughout my house. I have them in my living room, my bathroom, entryway. I have them throughout the house.
Yeah.
And I love them. They are not allowed in my bedroom. That's my rule.
I can see why.
Yeah, that's my rule.
Yeah.
And I know how crazy that sounds. It's just the way.
Not crazy at all.
Yeah. Do you align your house with them?
No, I do that without crystals. I can just do that frequency wise. Like, if you walk into a hotel, sometimes my son calls me up. It's like, Dad, this place is haunted.
Right.
He was in Europe, in Turkey, and it's like, Dad, can you clean this up? I mean, and you just reset. He's very sensitive to things. So yeah.
Yeah, Esperanza says skulls are cool, just not in my house. I think they are amazing. And
Oh, totally.
crystals, the properties of crystals and
Mhm.
and how they are formed and how old they are. I'm a firm believer in everything is recorded. Everything is recorded. Nothing goes away.
Yeah.
And crystals are probably some of the best instruments we have of doing that, of recording the past and recording information.
Yeah, the crystals record, not like a microchip or something. They actually hold down to say logistics of time and space. So they'll hold on to a memory or like an IP address. That's how crystals like hold on to memory. So like if I held the crystal, I don't need to, but if I held the crystal, I could literally like replay say what it picked up around around your house, or like if jewelry, for example, does that too. I can hold a piece of someone's jewelry. I wouldn't have to know anything about it. It's like, oh, this person is this. So it is a memory storage unit. It's
Did
interesting.
you? I know I asked you this before,
Hmm?
but that's such a great point. I asked you,
Mhm.
everybody, just listen. This is when Masati and I are alone, just talking. All right. So, Masati, I hope I'm not throwing you under the
Yeah, no
bus
worries.
here. But I turned to you
Mhm.
and I asked you, I said, okay, when I said, I think what I said was, dude, you got the friggin' gift. Right.
Yeah,
And
thanks.
I probably was more colorful with my language at that time.
Yes.
But I said, you've got the gift. When did you realize
Mhm.
that you had the gift?
Yeah, that was about 2 years after my second near-death experience. I went through, the dark nights of the soul, Jimmy, and it's like, God, this reality sucks. I lost my house, lost the house, lost the wife, which thank God, because it was built on lies. It was built on distortion, you know. So, and then after that, this voice or the sound comes to me. It's like, well, now that you've lost everything, what have you really lost? And it literally put me into a different, say, dimension of time and space. And from that point on, I've never looked back, and regained, the wealth, regained the knowledge, and that's where I started working on people. And in the beginning, I started seeing, like, I would literally stop people in the shopping malls and I go, "Oh, do you have kidney issues?" Because I could see what was going on, and just random people. And it's like, "Yeah, I do. Who the hell are you?" you know, or it's like, did your grandfather die, a month ago? It's like, yeah, but who the hell are you? It's kind of weird, but you know, so because I was a programmer, I just wanted to see if it was real and what the knowledge I was picking up on, and that was a long time ago. And now, I can like not just see what's going on, but I can actually render people in different realities for individuals.
Do you do you screw up yourself?
Well, I'm human, so yeah,
Right.
I make mistakes. Yeah, but
Yeah, yeah.
I overcome them faster, quicker.
Well, that's
Y-
my next question. You can't
yeah.
read my mind. Okay,
Oh,
don't.
sorry.
Let me do the
Don't do
show.
that.
Can I
Okay, I
do the
won't do
show?
that.
Yeah. Can I do the show? Can I
Yeah.
do the show? Um, so how do you go through that process when you find yourself making a mistake?
Well, well, first of all, I don't define it as, say, a mistake. It's just an experience. And then I ask myself, is like, okay, what programs or patterns am I running that I made this issue, that situation? And then so I delete the program or pattern. And then the solution to solve that comes from a very deep level, not a surface level. And then that mistake never gets created again for me. And that's the key to highly successful people, is like successful people, they make a hell of a lot more mistakes than most, but they don't make the same mistake twice. They learn from it and then they move on. Most people, unfortunately, they make the same mistake over and over and over again. Again, not so
Do you feel
successful.
that? Do you feel that? And this is going deeper in this.
Mhm.
That many make mistakes and then get angry about it, and that successful people doesn't necessarily have to mean money,
No,
but people that have figured things out more than most, that
yeah,
they don't get mad and they don't get upset.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah, because people who get angry at the situation, it's usually like an external factor caused me to be in this situation. And so you're never in control in that respect. But yeah, successful people outside of money, successful as like higher resonance individuals, they'll go, "Oh, that's a situation that I find myself in." Okay, so you're not associated to the situation. That's just your experience that you find yourself in. It's not you. It's not part of you. So people are usually insecure. They make a mistake. And it's like, oh my God, people are going to laugh at me. I can't believe I did that, because that's what their identity is really weak, and it's based on, say, physical concepts of self. But if you ascend to a higher level, it's just an experience that you had. It's just like trying out a food. You didn't like it. You learn. You move on. You don't like sit there for days. You know.
Or eat that food again.
Yeah, or eat that food again. But some people actually do that. They
I
just,
know
it's
why.
like they keep
I
ordering the
don't.
same damn thing. It's like, well, fucking change your order.
Then change it. Then change.
Exactly.
And don't play the victim. Don't do that.
Exactly.
Don't play the victim. One of the things that I enjoy, as
Mhm.
twisted as this sounds,
Yeah.
I will think about something crazy and bad that happened to me. All
Mhm.
right.
Yeah.
And I'll go, instead of like going, oh man, no, I don't do that. I go, that's where you were on your
Mhm.
journey at that time.
Yeah.
It got you to here. That's all it is. And that's my
Exactly.
take on life. That's the only
Yeah.
way to look. And so many fight that feeling. They don't want to do it that way.
Yeah, they deny the opportunity that experience. If you look at, I mean, people would look at me and go, "Oh my God, I can't believe you went through 3 near-death experiences." It's like, well, those near-death experiences gave me the gift of where I am. And just to take it a step further, you render this reality depending on the programming that you have. So if you think of it, next time you make a mistake, look at it. It's like, damn, how did I make that mistake so perfectly that it even fooled me? You know, you know what I mean? It's like,
Yep.
damn, it's like creating a movie so perfectly that you believed in your own movie. It's like, how did I get everything so perfect? If a movie producer did that, it's like, damn, good job, guys.
Yeah. Good writing. That
Yeah,
tracks. Well,
exactly. It's like,
when when I get to that moment
Mhm.
And I know that I've said these words to other people, and people have said
Mhm.
it to me, where
Yeah,
they go, "Well, didn't you know?" Well, obviously I
of
didn't.
course not.
Right?
Well, yeah, and even if you knew sometimes, the underlying program dictates that you have that experience. That's why it's so important not, because people can change their emotions and their mindset and all that stuff. But the key is like you change the underlying program. So so when you do that, then that experience, it's like, yeah, you're getting into it. Then you also know it's like, yeah, this is the last time I'll probably get into it.
They're trying to think of the TV series. Hold on, it's coming to me. Abbott Elementary. Have you been watching that? Have you been watching
No,
Abbott?
I'd have to listen
Watch
to
it.
that.
Just it's about an elementary school,
Okay.
and it's really good. It's a comedy. It's just why I know it sounds like, but you'll love
No,
it. Anyway,
yeah.
there's a scene in the movie, the janitor in the movie, in the series,
Mhm.
really funny guy, older black guy that's done everything,
Yeah.
right? He served with Sir Lawrence of Arabia,
Oh
and he
wow.
was also the cook
Okay.
in the White House, and he was also an airplane pilot, but now he's a janitor at an elementary school. Anyway, he tells everybody that he doesn't know how to ride a bike. Okay? He's never
Mhm.
learned. And so they decide they're going to teach him how to ride the bike. It goes right back to the point that you're making. You got to fall down on that bike a lot
Exactly.
before
Exactly.
you ride it. You're not an expert out of the gate. You have to
Exactly.
fail. You have to fail if you're
Exactly.
going to learn. And that's the only way to look at life, right?
Absolutely. That is the only way. Otherwise, you bury yourself under the mistakes that you make. That it could either create a strong foundation for you, the mistakes that you make. You know, that's why I don't call them failures. I just call them tiny successes. So, or you could again get buried underneath that, or the mistake that your parents made. A lot of people recreate the version of their parents and they go, well, why is this happening to me? It's like, well, you're copying your mom and dad's patterns. Don't stop it.
Are we I know this sounds left field, but it's
Mhm.
really not. Are we making a mistake with AI? Have Shouldn't we have learned a few lessons, and not to get ahead of our skis? And are we getting
Yeah.
ahead of our skis with AI?
It depends. I mean, AI could be an accelerant to save humanity, but AI is just replicating the distortions of humanity, basically. But, which technology didn't distort? AI just does it faster. I mean, look at medicines. Back in the day, it was really good. It saved a lot of lives, but now it's like the number two killer. Anything like benevolent, Jimmy, that was supposed to help humanity, if you look at it, has turned detrimental or created the most destructive force. Look at religions, look at medicines, look at the legal system, look
Diet soda.
diets. Look at love, for example.
Right.
Love kills a hell of a lot of people, although it's supposed to be benevolent. And then, people go, God, I just want to spread love, everywhere. But let me ask you something, or the audience is like, what's your definition of love? Usually it's like, shit, I have to sacrifice myself. I have to lose my identity. I have to be in pain in order to love somebody. Is that the kind of love that you want to spread out? So I think we should literally define who we are as a society, have that lexicon of words, redefine our words. And then that way, I think AI can be trained to say, bring us back on track, literally.
I Love is what drives the planet, is what drives
Yeah.
the universe.
Yeah.
But it's not love
No.
that's no, what sucks about it
Mhm.
is the breakup.
Yeah.
It's right. That is for all of the benefits and the joy of love and the feelings that you have.
Mhm.
And it's amazing. That's why we fight for it and look for it. And we want to get those feelings back.
Yeah.
It's the breakup, because that is more emotional and rougher than the best joys of the love experience. And that's the part that freaks me out. It's the yin and yang of the universe, right? You can have
Yeah.
all the love, but man, when it's over, you get it back, and it's
You
going
do
to
get
be
it back. Well,
right.
love is a great magnifier, just like love, wealth, children. They just magnify your distortions. Like, like you're saying, you like somebody, and then the moment you realize that you're in love with somebody, that's where all your bullshit that you hid away comes out, and they go, and then you start going like, what if they don't like me? What if they don't like the parents? What if they find out that I did, a ayahuasca journey? And what if they, what if, and they hide their distortions. But in consciousness, basically, it's like, hey, you guys are falling in love. That's fantastic. In order to stay in love and make it a beneficial experience, you have to get rid of this, and this. But people don't get rid of their bullshit. They double down on it. They hide it. They try to justify it. They try to do all that stuff. And then people go, oh, God, love is so crazy. And love is, God is mean and all that stuff. It's really not. You just need to, if you're in that state of, say, magnificence, then you need to get rid of your bullshit. Otherwise, the pain will magnify for you. Hence,
Why do women understand love better than men? I was out
do
to
they?
dinner. Hold on. Hear me out. Just hear
Okay.
me out on this.
All right.
I'm not a philosopher, but damn, I could
Yeah.
write a good book. I
Yeah.
really could. So I'm out to dinner. This is maybe 6 weeks ago. I was going to say last month, but it's 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I'm at a table with a bunch of women.
Mhm.
All right. It was me. I don't know if there's another guy. Anyway, so I'm listening to these two women next to me talk.
Mhm. Yeah.
It was great. And one of them says to the other, wow, he's amazing. They saw somebody on the other side of the room, some guy.
Yeah.
And chick number 2 says to her, I almost choked on my food. She goes, honey, somewhere there's a woman saying, I can't get this dude out of my life.
Oh, wow.
And I'm sitting there and I'm listening. I'm like, wow. Truth. You know what I mean? Wow.
Get it?
Wow. And it was a really interesting understanding of the concept.
Yeah.
It was pretty profound, innocent and funny at the time, but pretty deep.
Yeah. I totally get it. There's a lot of women that, love, say, a guy's French accent, and then you start to hate that guy, that guy, burns you, and it's like, God, I can't stand your accent, damn it. It's the same thing, right? What you fell in love with probably is what you hate most about that person after, that love dies down. But in just to help people out, Jimmy, what you see in that other person or what you hate in that other person, just remember that you're running a reflective or a complementary or an oppressive pattern that dictates that you are connected to that person. So always look inside yourself. If you're not liking something about somebody, you're probably running one of those patterns. It's like, shit, if you don't like that, then what is it in you that's allowing you to attract somebody or other people like that?
Yeah. Why is that?
Well, underlying patterns. And people follow their emotions. And I always say, don't trust your emotions just yet. Recalibrate them. Because people follow their emotions and they get into the strangest situations, Jimmy. And then they go, God, it's God's problem or it's this problem. It's like, no, your underlying program dictates what your emotions will guide you towards. So understand your emotions and don't follow them right away, but calibrate them and go, God, the last time I followed my emotion, my heart, I got stuck in this relationship that, abused the hell out of me. It's like, okay, what did I do wrong? And then just reanalyze that. Just ask yourself a lot of questions, and you can always blame the other person, but you don't have power over the other person.
Why do we have that fear? We have that fear, the same thing applies to people have fear of bliss. People have fear of true happiness. They know deep inside what would make them happy and blissful, but they won't chase it, and they won't do that with another person. It's like a fear.
Well, they're afraid of seeing, say, the distortions or the lies that they're living to me. Because love, like I said, purifies things. True love purifies things. And a lot of people, they're not really ready to go, shit, I fucked up, or
Mm.
I'm a fuck up, or you know what I mean, or I'm carrying my parents' patterns, and then like people go, love is messy, love is this, and even like self love, for example. What is self love? If most, like, if you get abused by other people, you mostly will abuse yourself as well, because it's a pattern that dictates that runs in you. It's not other people. So in that case, like self-love is like, well, how are you loving yourself? Are you abusing yourself? Because especially maybe that person that says self-love, they literally start to say people shortchange them, whoever that is, and then internally, if you're alone, you shortchange yourself. So self-love doesn't really work. So again, look at your definitions that you put upon things.
Why does humanity in general, it's not certainly with everybody, but
Yeah.
why does humanity in general enjoy somebody else's failures? They see,
That's
if
really
somebody
sad.
sees, I know. If somebody sees you and Faye and your
Yeah.
happiness, there's
Yeah.
somebody out there going, man, that's bullshit. Or
You get that all the
it's like,
time.
yeah, successful
Like,
career,
yeah.
or you're just smiling and things are
Yeah.
and people, when you stumble, people enjoy it.
Yeah.
Why is that? You break up, right? You get divorced, and they
Yeah.
relish in it.
Oh,
I
totally. I've had that happen. I've had that
Yeah.
happen with Faye and I. Or, you get successful and then people put crappy things on the internet about you to tear you down. It's so easy, nowadays, I'm sure you've experienced that too. It's a sign of success, but, I think a lot of times is like, they're at a low level. You were probably at that level and then you rose, but they stayed the same. But to them, because you rose, they look worse off than where they were before. So what they'd have to do is like, shit, that person exposed the truth of who I really am, But in a sense, it's actually beneficial for you, but people don't know how to change, and they'll go, oh, that it's because of that person I feel crappier than I am. It's not the person's success. It's your delusion of who you are. You can elevate to that same level as well. But
If most people could walk in my shoes,
Mhm.
anybody, and just watch me throughout a day,
Yeah,
just follow me around,
yeah,
you will see one thing. I don't bitch, I don't complain, I don't go negative, I don't
Mhm.
absorb negative things into my life to throw me off of my game.
Yeah,
I truly, from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed, I smile, I'm happy, and I just do my own thing. I don't allow outside forces to affect my bliss. And
yeah.
it took me a long time to get to this point.
Mhm.
And you know me pretty well. You know
Oh
that's
yeah,
exactly how I am.
of course.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's why you and I get along really well. Even the first time we met, it's like, damn, that guy's pretty cool, because we hold our own identity. We don't let outside distortions really you know mess us up. So it's like, yeah, and if you mess up, it's like, yeah, okay, let's fix it, rather than blaming others or anything like that. So it's nice.
How
It's
how
beautiful
how
stuff.
how do we teach that? How do we get people to understand that better?
Um, well, start to notice, and this is what I teach in the 10-day courses and all that stuff. But you start to notice, or you start to become the observer of your emotions, or the observer on how you say relate to people, not through your own mindset, but through spatial referencing. Where again you move beyond the mind and spatial referencing, and it's the coolest tool ever. Like for example, the pictures over there, and a point of my body is here. The sound comes from over there. And the tip of my nose is here. It sounds really dumb, but try it. Reference an object and then a point on your body, and you literally will zone in to the reality that you should be created in, or basically present moment time. And when you start to do that, you start to become the observer on how you're rendering your life. And then you
Mm,
start to go, shit, why am I doing it that way? Or you go, shit, my mom did it that way. Now I know why, I'm running the same pattern as my mom. You literally start to separate your identity of who you think you are just by spatial reference. Just guys, just do that exercise. People have gone off their psychotic medications just doing that, by the way.
One of my favorite people, I
Mhm.
really enjoy her. She just killed it for me right now.
Yeah.
You ready? This is
Yeah.
Esperanza. She says, I just bought a patchouli roll-on today. Patchouli roll-on, Esperanza.
Woo.
Do not do that around me. I'm just kidding. Patchouli. I want to ask you that. I want to end the show on this note. You
Yeah.
look amazing.
Oh, thanks.
We've had lots of dinners together.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about diet and food because, well, I don't want to speak about what I've seen on your plate, but is diet important to you? Because physically outside you look amazing, and so does face, so does your family, right?
Thanks.
Everybody is that diet or something else?
It's the frequency. So part of the what we do is called the frequency spas, Jimmy, where and it's a cool advanced say aging technique where say you're in your I'm 65, so but my test
No,
yeah,
you're not. What?
Yeah, I'm 65, but and there's no filters on this, but most people would guess because all these filters that people put on, but
Right.
but the presence is literally your time functions. A lot of people, in the cellular structure, everything is based on time. And your cells go, well, you're 65, and it sees how your parents were at 65. It sees how society runs at 65, and then it renders you at that stage. So once you start to awaken and you start to reference, you go, shit, I don't want to age like that. So I've reset myself back into late 30s, early 40s, and blood tests and all that literally show that. And there's so many people that actually can do that. You start to age differently. And then when you have that frequency or that, basic setting, you eat properly. You don't have to force yourself to eat properly. You just do, you don't have to force yourself to love yourself, because if you change that setting of just really understanding who you are, you love yourself naturally. You don't force it. Again, that's not a mental state. It's just really, your essence. So you change your presence or you change your frequency, then you attract the right foods. And overall, guys, just don't eat GMO foods. I travel the world, and America is like literally one of the sickest nations. And their obesity is crazy compared to the world outside the U.S. Just don't eat the GMO foods, guys. Overall,
You know what I do?
yeah,
I know this sounds. I cook.
I do too.
I mean, I cook.
Yeah,
I cook.
Yeah.
I love. Don't get me wrong. I love In-N-Out.
I love it. Yeah,
I'm not saying, but I cook. I cook, and I'm a good cook. And
you gotta invite me over, buddy.
whenever you're ready, man.
All right.
No, I'm serious, man. We got to go on a ride.
Yeah.
Leave Faye at home with the kids.
Absolutely. Sounds great.
Yeah.
Love it.
Faye, yeah, we do need to go on that ride. So now, what are you going to be speaking about at Conscious Life Expo?
Actually, I will be taking questions from the audience and just answering, is the way it is, and not only like give you. I'm not a, like a, no offense, like a Sadhguru or somebody like that just gives you fluffy stuff. I mean, great guy, but I give you like specifics on, say, what's going on with you, and not only tell you what's going on with you, but help you say rewire yourself. And a lot of people will experience like the changes like on stage, and you've seen this with me before, right? Where I work on people on stage, and it's like shit, they radically change. So yeah, so that and I think that's the best way to get the information out there, because I can talk all I want, but once people experience it, it's like, damn, it really works. Kind of like if I am explaining, say, the scent of a flower, but once you experience, the scent of a flower, it's a very different experience. So I just want people to experience, the possibilities of how fast they can change their lives.
Crowd work. I love that.
Yeah,
I love
love
that. I'll see you in a couple of months, my friend, and
Absolutely.
safe travels to you and Faye.
Thank
And
you so much.
just like last year, we'll go break bread and go
I
hang
love it.
out and do our thing. All right.
Love it, man. All right,
Thank you
buddy.
so much. Give my best to Faye and the family.
I will do that. You take care.
I'll talk to you. Masati, everybody. Masati's links. Thank you so much, sir. Masati's links are below on our website and throughout social media. And that is that. Great conversation tonight. Tomorrow night is Julia Mossbridge is with us, neuroscientist, and she's got a new book out on disclosure. And so we're going to talk about a lot of stuff, the brain and her important work, but also why a disclosure book now for us and how to deal with it. So that's tomorrow night on Fade to Black. I'll see everybody then. But for now, all I've got is go backly tappy. Fade to Black is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee Newman, and Michelle Freed. Special thanks to Bill, John, Dex, Jessica, Dennis, and Kevin. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music by Doug Aldrich. Intro, Space Boy. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2024 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Go backly tappy.